where they're releasing body camera video from an officer-involved shooting that happened in the Chickasaw neighborhood. Let's listen in.
As you know, Officer Haley was shot in the line of duty nearly 2 weeks ago. He has only been with an LMPD officer for roughly a year and a half. Officer Haley is still recovering at the University Hospital. I am grateful to be able to share with you that Officer Haley's condition is improving and he is no longer in critical condition. We're incredibly grateful that he was not killed that night. Officer Haley is fighting to get stronger each day so he can rejoin his fellow officers as we work towards the goal of keeping Louisville's communities as safe as possible. Officer Colin Bellato, who pulled Officer Haley to safety, remains on administrative leave. We are also proud of him for assisting Officer Haley that night. We are also profoundly appreciative of the community support for Officer Haley, Officer Bellato, and LMPD as a whole. Again, I thank you. To be clear, the individuals involved in this incident not only critically injured Officer Haley, but they also endangered Officer Bellato's life. And they place everyone in that neighborhood in danger by repeatedly shooting in a densely populated area. As a reminder, LMPD recently transitioned to a new protocol as it relates to officer-involved shootings. The changes were implemented to help provide greater transparency to the public, giving the community clearer guidelines on what they can expect after an officer-involved shooting, and provide a process that is consistent. LMPD's Public Integrity Unit will take the lead in officer-involved shooting investigations. As part of our new protocol, we will release body-worn camera footage in a timely fashion. The public can expect the release of the video within 10 business days after the shooting. I repeat, 10 business days after the shooting. A copy of the case file will be turned over to the Commonwealth's Attorney Office for determination of final disposition. A copy will be provided to the Kentucky State Police for a thorough peer review. A copy will also be provided to to our Louisville Office of Inspector General in compliance with our existing Memorandum of Understanding. 30 days after the public released the body-worn camera footage, an update will be provided to the media regarding the status of the case. And we will continue to provide 30-day status updates thereafter. Each case is different, therefore timelines in the investigation process will vary. Lastly, I will personally supervise these investigations. Now I will turn it over to Deputy Chief Paul Humphrey. He will walk us through the body-worn camera footage from the shooting.
A quick update. We want to warn you that this video that you're going to be seeing from LMPD is expected to be very graphic. So we just wanted to warn our viewers that some of you may find this disturbing.
Okay. On September 7th at approximately 2:30 a.m. at the intersection of 38th and Kentucky, a vehicle was observed traveling southbound on 38th Street and turned westbound on Kentucky. It was a white vehicle. It was approximately 2 blocks ahead of Officer Haley. The vehicle then turned with no lights on from Kentucky to southbound on 40th Street. As Officer Haley approached the intersection, when he observed the vehicle had already come to a stop on the west side of the street on the sidewalk. Officer Haley called off that 2 subjects were running from the vehicle and exited his marked police car in uniform. At that time, when he crossed the street, gunfire started being shot at him from across the street in a house just beyond the car. He is almost immediately struck by gunfire and falls down. At this point in the video is when his audio will begin in the video. When he is struck by gunfire, he falls and returns fire. He tries to get up while still being shot at, and then he falls again. He then gets up, crosses the street, and falls in a yard across the street under a little bit of cover. As Officer Bellotto, who was several blocks behind him, approached him in the grass and tried to assess his wounds and ask him about his injuries, the subjects in the house began shooting at them again. Officer Bellotto began to drag Officer Haley to cover while attempting to assess his wounds and communicate to responding officers. As he did this, the subjects continued to shoot at them. Officer Bellotto returned fire. Officer Bellotto's shots will be the last two shots that you hear. He then drags Officer Haley again, all the way almost an entire block to safety. Part of that he's doing on his knees, dragging Officer Haley, and then he gets up and is able to pull him the rest of the way. When they reach the alley just east of the location, he is able to begin communicating effectively with responding officers and assessing the wounds. You will see him pull out a medical kit, and he will begin to treat Officer Haley right there at the scene. Officer Haley is shot in the chest, and Officer Bellotto pulls out what is called a chest seal. One of the risks of being shot in the chest, beyond just bleeding or damage to organs, is a condition called tension pneumothorax, which means that air goes in the holes on the outside of your chest and begins to fill your chest cavity, putting pressure on your lungs and heart, and can cause death that way also. So Officer Bellotto places 2 chest seals on Officer Haley right there at the scene. This is a piece of equipment that we issue and train officers on, as well as tourniquets and other medical equipment that you've seen officers use in the field before. As other officers arrive, they begin to assess the scene, and it is determined that they are going to put Officer Haley in the back of a police car for transport. They put him in the back of the police car and transport him to the University Hospital. As more officers arrive, SWAT and H&T, our hostage negotiators, arrive as well. And it's a very chaotic scene because the 2 officers that are primarily involved in this, being Officer Haley and Officer Bellotto, are not able to communicate because they're going to the hospital. It is very chaotic and confusing as to exactly what's going on, besides for a basic suspect description and where those suspects are, as they were also a block away when he's giving out this description of where the shots were coming from. After a long standoff, several hours later, 5 suspects are taken into custody and numerous guns are recovered from that scene. This is an ongoing investigation, and many of the facts of this case are still to be determined. As such, we will not be able to answer too many specific questions about the investigation. When it comes time to answering questions, we can answer general questions or clarifying questions about what you see on the video. So what you'll see on the video shortly after this, as you can see right now, we have up a QR code on the screen that links directly to this case for PIU. If you have any videos or any information related to this case, you can click on the QR code or you can contact 574 LMPD. As far as the actual video, what you're about to see will be 3 videos simultaneously. You will have Officer Haley's body camera video, you will have Officer Bellotto's body camera video, and you will have Officer Haley's in-car video. These will play simultaneously, and as each of those no longer become relevant because of the scene, they will drop off. You will eventually have just the 2 body cameras because they're no longer in front of the car, and then you will have just Officer Bellotto's body camera because Officer Haley's is laying on the ground. You can't see anything. Part of this video has been redacted, partially for sensitivity reasons, but primarily to protect the integrity of the ongoing investigation. There is some graphic scenes in here, but have mostly been blurred out, as well as some information that has been blurred out to protect the integrity of the ongoing investigation.
Where are you headed? Let's go there. We're off right now. Come on. Where is it, Kentucky? I lost you now. Goddamn church. Okay. Step it up. I need more cars. Hey, watch that. This sounds like I believe the shots came from the house up there. Stay with me. Hey, watch your back. Cover that. One of those houses over there. The shots came from the front door. I got it. Stay with me. Hey, we're gonna be on Kentucky right up here in the alleyway. I got an officer with a gunshot wound to the chest. Get off it.
I know I have a lot of people watching this stream right now live with us here on Wave Now. Just a heads up, if you are just joining us, it's very graphic body camera video released from Louisville Metro Police about that officer-involved shooting that happened in the Chickasaw neighborhood.
Hey, stay with me, bud. I'm right here in the alleyway on Kentucky. I have a block down from 40th. I can see your vehicles. I got chest seals on both sides. Come on. Stay with me, bud. You hit anywhere else? No. Are you sure? Just stay with me. Hey, come on, get me right down here. You're good, you're good. Somebody get it back. Bring it back, bring it back, bring it back. Let's go. Breathe, brother, breathe. Breathe. In the house right up there. Did you take it back? What? Did you take it back? Yeah, I got it. What? Right here. Stop.
Somebody watch the hour.
No.
Just look us.
Let's go. Can we get your car? We gotta go. Let's go. Get it open. Get it open, Sarge.
Get in the car. Get in the car. Get in the car.
Get out of the way. Get in the back. I'm working on it. Hey, Sarge, watch this house. First one.
Okay. Before it goes into this next part, I want to explain a couple of things. One, understand the way that's set up. It's very confusing. Think about how confusing that was to those officers out there being shot at that time. Officer Bellato dragged him for almost a block while being shot at and on his knees. His poise in that situation absolutely was critical to getting responding officers there. What you're going to see next will be a slow motion view showing you right now. What you see is highlight at where the car is, that it has no headlights on. You'll see its tail lights come on when they activate their brakes prior to turning onto 40th Street. The next view that you'll see after that will be a slow motion view from the dash cam of Officer Haley that shows him being shot at while he's laying on the ground. You will see several bullets kicking up around him. Those will be the sparks that you see on the ground, and how truly fortunate we are that this wasn't even more tragic than it already was. And then you will see a clip from the raw that is attached to the end just of Officer Haley's body camera. All of that will be attached to the video that is placed on the internet.
Where you hit? Let's go.
So, like I said, we're very fortunate that this wasn't much worse than what it was. We were very proud of these officers, for Officer Bellato to do what he did going into gunfire after an officer's already been shot. The strength to drag an officer, 200-pound man with gear on, for half a block on his knees while being shot at, to be able to have the poise to communicate and explain to officers what they were responding to. You can see the chaos at that scene and and how proud we are of their actions that night in their efforts to keep Louisville safe. Prior to turning over to the mayor, I will explain again that this is an ongoing investigation, and we can only answer clarifying or general questions, nothing specific to the facts of the investigation that we know at the time.
Thank you, Chief and Deputy Chief. I think everyone who watches this video will agree with me that this is incredibly difficult to watch. However, we also see the bravery that in this case, Officer Haley and Officer Bellato exhibited in this early morning interaction. I thank them. We're continuing to pray for Officer Haley's continued recovery and thank them for their bravery and heroism. This is the bravery that every man and woman who is part of LMPD exhibits every day. And I want to thank them for their service as well. We have a lot of work ahead of us to do as a police department, as a city government, as a city. But we are working hard every day to make our city a safer city. And to do that, we need the public's help as well. We are taking a lot of steps. LMPD, under the leadership of Chief Gwynn Villarroel, our city government, are taking a lot of steps already to regain any trust that was lost by our community, to strengthen the bonds between LMPD and the entire community that we serve. Releasing officer-involved shooting video footage within 10 days is part of that effort to increase the amount of transparency we have with our police department and city government overall, and to continue to rebuild that trust with the entire community. I asked for the public's help on this case and others. As you saw earlier, there was a QR code that could be scanned to provide any information about this particular incident. Whether it's for this or others, we are asking for the public's help. We have an anonymous phone number, 574-LMPD. You can also call Crime Stoppers, 582-CLUE, C-L-U-E. Either one of those approaches, or by scanning the QR code, can provide anonymous information that can ensure we bring justice for the families and victims of every victim of gun violence and violent crime in our community. Again, thanks to everyone at LMPD, and we continue to pray for Officer Haley's full and complete recovery. Deputy Chief.
Any questions? Yes, sir.
Deputy, you mentioned 5 suspects. Has there been any arrests?
So the question was, of the 5 suspects taken into custody, have there been any arrests in this case? They are all persons of interest, but everything specific to their charges and is part of the ongoing investigation.
That's the answer, no.
Everything specific to that is part of the investigation.
Are the people, these 5, are they being charged in connection to this?
They have not been charged with this shooting.
Can you name that 5th suspect that was arrested?
No, not off the top of my head.
Was there anything suspicious in the area that the officer may have been aware of? Any calls for service? Anything that he noticed about the vehicle?
So because of the condition of Officer Haley, we have not been able to talk with Officer Haley, and those specifics would be part of that investigation that we can't disclose right now. But I think it's important to note that, this is 2:30 in the morning, and Officer Haley is out here doing police work. Is absolutely what we need, and it's what we expect of our officers to protect this community, whether it's 2:30 in the morning or 2:30 in the afternoon. We want officers who are going out here and trying to take bad people and illegal guns off the street. We have to have that in order to keep this community safe. It's our duty, and it's the oath that we take. So it's very, very important, and it's not just the bravery of Officer Haley and Officer Bellato that you saw, but it's every officer that does this all day long, as what the public needs to understand. That's very, very important. None of these officers that go out here and do this on a daily basis know what they're walking into, yet they continue to do it because they understand the importance of keeping the community safe through effective policing. Does that answer your question?
For the mayor, if I may. Mayor, we just heard you ask the public for help, but in our investigation shortly after this incident, we discovered that one of the suspects that was arrested had been on HIP, arrested more than 20 times, and had just previously been arrested in June for fleeing and evading police and other felonies. Do you have any concerns about the judicial system's role in keeping the public safe?
Improving public safety in Louisville is certainly a team effort, and the judicial branch and judges play a key role in that effort. And that's why the chief and I have had many conversations with judges and will continue to have conversations with the judicial branch about how we can partner together. We, without a doubt, need their assistance to ensure that those who are using illegal guns and causing harm to others need to be consequences. And that's the role of the judicial branch. And so we are having conversations with them. We want to make sure they are aware of, not with respect to any one particular case, but in general, what is going on in our city, what is driving a lot of the violent crime in our city. We will continue to have those conversations with them. And yes, the judicial branch plays a very important role in ensuring that our city continues to reduce the amount of gun violence that we're seeing today.
Colonel Mumford, you might not know offhand the name of the fifth suspect. Do you know by chance what they're charged with?
I can't speak on that right now.
Do you think this car led officers to this block?
The question was, do I think the car led officers to this block? I have no clue, no way of predicting that right now.
Couple more guys.
I don't know if this was an entire question. Do you know why Officer Haley was initially pulling the car over?
We do not. That's part of the investigation. And like I said, due to the fact that Officer Haley is in the condition that he's in and unable to speak, we're not able to get that information as far as why he may have been looking at that car prior to this incident.
Can you talk about the weapons you took out of the house?
Correct.
And just as a point of clarification, he did not actually stop the car. The car stopped on its own. He never activated his police lights. He was in a marked police car. He did park under a street light. He was visible as a police officer in uniform at that point when he got out of his car, but he did not actually make an attempt to stop the vehicle.
Last question.
About how long do ballistic testing take? Because obviously there's gunfire, and that is probably part of the investigation. We probably can't confirm that, but how long do we expect to know?
So that can be anywhere from days to weeks. It just depends on the specifics of the case and what's going on at the lab at the time. I think we had one right there.
Yeah, just, can you talk about the weapons that you took out of the house?
The weapons that we took out of the house, I'm not able to discuss those. They're specific to the investigation. Yes,
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
All right, you're watching that live press conference from Louisville Metro Police releasing that body camera video of that officer-involved shooting that happened in the Chickasaw neighborhood recently. It was very graphic. I know some of you have mentioned that it was really difficult to see, and you are definitely right. Very hard to watch. So a lot more developments coming out of that. We got a better perspective of what happened. And we have two people on this story today, Wave News troubleshooter Natalia Martinez and David Ochoa, or Jollis as well, third. So a lot to cover in this story. We're going to have the very latest for you coming up, starting on Wave News at 3. I'm Myra Ansari. Thanks for staying with us here. Have a great day.